What a game, Rube. People will never forget where they were when the Eagles had a victory field goal. Jake Elliott, Patrick Johnson strip sack to set it up. Redemption for the Pro Bowl kicker. What a moment.
High drama, definitely. Kind of reminds you that game in '94, right at the end of the season in Cincinnati, when it was Christmas Eve, right? And it was Rich Kotite's last game, and the Bengals tied the game with like 12 seconds left. And then they kicked off, and the kid named Brian O'Neill, the kick returner, a rookie with the Eagles, fumbled it. And the Bengals then kicked another field goal. I wish I could remember the kicker's name. Kicked another. So he kicked two field goals like in the last 12 seconds. He made both of those, and they won the game. But that's the last time I saw anything remotely like that. It was pretty funny. Look, most preseason games you don't get that kind of drama, so it was kind of cool and good for Pat Johnson making a big play at the end.
Yeah, if you didn't watch the game, understandable. The Eagles won 16-13. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro. The one nice thing about the game ending the way it did, when there was a little bit of tension in the air, is that there's no more overtime in the preseason. So either way, the game was going to end, and that was a good move.
Doug Pelfrey was the Bengals kicker. I was talking to Donovan, and he didn't realize that there's no overtime. It's a cheap shot. I'm sorry.
That's a cheap shot.
Sorry, Five. Smart rule. They should have done that 100 years ago.
Yeah, it makes sense. And let's kind of start with, a lot of the star players did not play. Certainly more starters played on defense than offense. I'm guessing that was a Vic Fangio push. But no Jalen Hurts in this game. No Devontae Smith. No A.J. Brown. No 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen. Mekhi Becton did start at right guard. So a lot of the star offensive players didn't play. Neither did Darius Slay, Josh Sweat. So you can but there were still a lot of starting defensive players in this game and players that we were intrigued to watch on offense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't know where you want to start. You want to start with the defense?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Now they came out in their nickel package, so Quinyon Mitchell was on the field, but he was actually a starting outside corner for this game. When they were in base, it was him and Isaiah Rodgers, and then he bumped inside on nickel downs, and Keely Ringo was out there. But I mean that's a lot on the rookie's plate to be kind of playing 2 positions in his first NFL game.
Yeah, it just shows you. It shows you what they think of him. It was pretty funny. In Nick's presser, he was asked about Quinyon, and I mean, he probably should have had an interception. I think it was like the 4th or 5th play of the game. He knocked the ball down, made a really nice play, and Nick was like, "Well, I'm sure he wanted the interception." I'm like, "This kid's first game, he made that play, like." And then he kind of like corrected himself. He kind of like realized that it sounded bad, like he was criticizing the kid. And he's like, "Yeah, that was a big play, making that play." And
if you're wondering, though, I asked Quinyon about that play. He thinks he should have had it.
Oh, I'm sure he does. Yeah,
he was beating himself up a little bit over
it. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, he's a competitor, but yeah, I thought he made a nice play. It was good coverage, and it was good to see. And you forget. I mean, these guys have been in camp for a few weeks, but for all those rookies, this is their first game, and a preseason game and a practice are completely opposite things. You're going up against guys you don't know. They don't watch film. They don't prepare for these game plan. So I thought really for all the rookies on both sides of the ball, I thought there was some really good stuff. You mentioned Keely, man. He is something else. It's hard for me to, and I like all the corners, but man, it's hard for me to watch Keely Ringo and think he's not a starter. I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, he had 2 pass breakups in that first half, but the other part of it is like Isaiah Rodgers was out of the game first, so it's clearly like he's ahead of him in that pecking order. I got a chance to catch up with Isaiah Rodgers after the game.
First game was 592 days.
Yeah, and I asked him, I was like, "Did you know that number? Have you been keeping track of it?" He said he Googled the date this morning before he put out that tweet.
I love that. Oh, he tweeted about it. I still have my Twitter account. So
yeah. He tweeted the exact. Let me find it here. He said he Googled it this morning to make sure he was right. 19 months, 85 weeks, 592 days.
Yeah, that's what I came up with too. It's and he there was one coverage where he was kind of off a little bit I think it was a 19-yard gain or something. But look, the guy hasn't played in 2 years. You give him that. It was his first game.
And he looked fine.
He looked fine. Yeah. I thought all their corners looked pretty good. That whole group, from what I could see, they did the things that they've been doing in practice, and that's what you look for. Like, it's one thing to have. I mean, how many times have we seen guys who were, shining in practice and they get into the preseason games? It's just not there. So it was good to see for all those guys that they were able to do the things that they've been doing.
Yeah. Now the thing with Quinyon makes me kind of wonder if that couldn't be his role in the season. We've kind of talked about him playing the nickel, but I don't know. If he could win that job still, but you can still have another guy play if you bump him inside on nickel downs. I think that's like an avenue that is a possibility that we haven't really talked about that much.
Yeah, we briefly touched on it a week ago or so. I kind of threw it out there, but I think the more you see him working in both spots, the more that becomes a realistic option and something that they seem to be thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, he's so twitchy that it works inside. Like, I understand why they thought, let's give this a try. He has the ability. It's tougher, in some respects to play inside. You have a two-way go, right? You don't have the benefit of the boundary, but he's quick enough to do it. The one thing he said he's really been trying to work on, and he still needs to work on more, is the communication aspect of it. You have to kind of, when you're on an outside corner, you're kind of by yourself. You're playing zone sometimes, but like, you're worried about just covering that guy in front of you. Whereas when you're inside, there's a lot more moving parts. You kind of know where the safeties are, where the linebackers are. You got to really talk it through. So that part of it, he's getting used to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's rare. It's really rare to see a young corner, a rookie, have this much thrown at him. I mean, it is. And, I could just see Vic. I mean, Vic's thing is to just keep throwing more at a guy until he shows that he can't handle it. And so far that hasn't happened. And it also, this is why you try guys in different positions. This is why hey, let's try McKee at guard and see if it works. Oh, actually it works. Let's try Hewitt in the slot. Oh, wow, it works. You think about all the resources and money they spend scouting players. Sometimes you just don't know. Some of these guys are coming from systems where they didn't get a chance to do different things. They had a position and they stayed in that position. And sometimes guys can do more. So Vic seems to be really open to it, and Q's responded. And the options that they have at corner they're endless. I mean, there's just so many different ways they can go, and they all make sense. And we'll probably see a little bit of all of them at some point.
Yeah. And the depth there is, we've talked about it, but I had a chance to catch up with Zach McPherson after the game. I mean, he got hurt here a year ago. So it was kind of a really joyous moment for him to be back on the field. He's a guy who would have been on the team last year and would have played a significant role. And I don't think anyone really thinks he's going to make the roster this year, but he's a good player.
Well tonight.
He's played really well tonight. He looks good, and he was good as a gunner. We kind of talk about Josh Jobe if they keep the sixth guy because of his special teams prowess. But Zach McPherson was that guy before Jobe.
Yeah.
So there's still an outside shot he could make this team.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And you also see how Jobe, how active he is on special teams. I guess that fumble wasn't a fumble. I guess the ground caused it, but he's just around the ball. He makes those kind of plays. And but I thought McPherson, for a guy who missed all of last year, I thought he looked really good. Special teams, he had a couple big plays. And one on defense, I think. He's an interesting guy, and embarrassment of riches at that position. Some tough decisions.
I want to talk about another rookie. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had a heck of a game.
Yeah.
And it really started with the play on punt coverage. He gets the it was a kickoff, right? A punt. It was a punt.
It was a punt.
It was a punt. He makes that tackle, and then he hadn't played on defense yet. And then he got that next series, and it kind of gave him the momentum going into it. And he gets that big sack. This is funny. He was asked why he didn't do the sack celebration. He wasn't sure it was a sack. He was like looking like, because it was a 0-yard gain, it's a sack, but he didn't know it. And he's also like making sure the guy didn't get the first down. You're in space, you don't know it. So next time maybe he'll do the celebration.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I think in college that's not a sack, right? A zero run by the quarterback.
I believe
that's play. I'm not sure it's a sack, but it was cool to see. And you're right. It seemed like the special teams play kind of, I don't know, just got him started, and then he goes out on defense and makes that play on third down. Showed nice pursuit. He's really an instinctive player.
Yeah, the instincts, and that's kind of what showed up at Clemson because he doesn't have like next level athleticism. He's not very big, but he just makes up for it because he knows what he's supposed to do and he does it.
Yeah. And we say the same things about Reed Blankenship, who was kind of, I mean, he wasn't a late round pick. He was undrafted, but sometimes the unmeasurables, you get measured for everything at the combine, but there's things you can't measure. And you see them on film, and that's why teams want these guys. But Trotter, I think, does things that the measurables might not indicate he can. I just think he just knows the game so well. I guess, I don't know. I'm sure it has something to do with growing up in a family where your dad's a 4-time
probably
Pro Bowler, whatever he was, 5-time Pro Bowler. It's just funny how different he is than his dad as a player. They're completely opposite players. But he was fun to watch tonight. It was just cool seeing number 54 out there. I've said this before, but he's handled everything so well, so seamlessly. I don't think it's an easy thing. And we've talked about guys who are from Philly and just have a hard time just being home. And
there's one of them on the other sideline, Daryl Worley.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw Daryl Worley out there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys, it's really hard for them. There's so much pressure everywhere they go. Why aren't you playing more? Sharif, I mean, I don't know if he would have done any better in another city, but there's a lot of stories like that. And it just doesn't
That's
bother
Sharif
him.
Miller, by the way.
Sharif Miller, yeah, the edge that I think he played one snap in his career. He was a draft pick. He was, a 5?
Mm-hmm.
Philly kid. It's hard for some kids. And Trot he just jokes about, I'm probably the only guy in the NFL sleeping in the same bed as when I was in 4th grade, which is pretty funny.
Has he passed N'Kobe?
He calls so well, and he's an impressive kid. I mean, not only does he have the team made, I'm sure Vic's sitting there thinking, there might be a role for him.
I just asked, has he passed N'Kobe?
I thought N'Kobe did a couple decent things tonight, but
but the things N'Kobe does are the things he does well, right? He's running downhill.
Yeah,
that's where he's at his best. It's the other stuff. Like I know he can run downhill. Like that one pass breakup, like that's a great play, but it's not really him in coverage. He's running forward. He's not dropping.
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I think the answer to that might be yes.
If they had to play a game tomorrow, who would you feel better about putting on the field?
Probably Trot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's oversimplifying it. I know that
N'Kobe has the experience, but not that much more. I mean, he's
not
only
that much more. Yeah,
really 5 games.
Yeah, and like we think Zach Bond has like done okay, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Trotter ends up playing a little bit this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll be a starter, but I see a lot from him.
I don't think anything's decided. I didn't notice Zach Bond missed 1 tackle. I didn't notice him making – I mean, look, it's 1 preseason game. He played quite a bit, I think, actually, right? He played well into the second quarter.
I mean, it was telling me how long N'Kobe played.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's like the thing to watch in these games. It's like, wait, why is that 4-year veteran on the field in the 4th quarter?
Yeah.
Not a good sign.
Never. One thing, I'm going to the other side of the ball real quick. Just you remind me of this. Nick was asked why Becton was the only starting offensive lineman, why he only played the first series. He said he's never played guard. We want to see him at guard. We want him to get him some reps at guard in a game.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So before I forgot, I wanted to mention that.
Yeah. Let's stick with defense. We'll get the offense in a little bit. I think that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Jalyx Hunt. I thought he had a really nice game on special teams. And then, it's funny. Some of these edge rushers, when they have to line up either in the slot or have to drop back in the coverage, look so awkward. I mean, that's where this guy's background, like, it's evident. He looks so smooth.
Yeah.
Backpedaling in
I
terms
know.
of safety. I mean, but it's amazing. He looks great doing it, and he's like a functional player back there.
That struck me too tonight. His backpedal, it's like, wow, he looks like a safety. Oh yeah, he was a safety. Yeah, I thought he looked really comfortable. He's ahead of where I thought he'd be I thought he'd be just a complete project, and he still might
be like almost a red shirt year, at least defensively.
Yeah, but he's ahead of where I thought he'd be coming from Houston Christian or Houston Baptist, whatever it is now. Houston.
I don't think they're going to change it back.
I heard it's going to be Houston Jewish in 2 years. So
it's converting.
But yeah, I was impressed by him. Really, so many of those young defensive guys I thought just looked comfortable and they played fast. And he was one that certainly stuck out. I thought the whole draft class really did some good things, pretty much. But yeah, Jalyx is impressive, and I still think it's a long shot that he's going to have a significant role, but he's trending the right way.
Mm-hmm. Nolan Smith had a sack. He kind of was lined up in the slot, but he's quick, man. And we saw it last year in the preseason, but him getting around the edge is you see it. You see the flashes. You understand why he was a first-round pick. You understand why they were so excited about him. Jeremiah Washburn last week was talking about, he said every player has, he called it the Marvel Universe superpower. I mean, Nolan's is his speed and his bend, and he agrees with that. It's next level stuff. Now you still question all right, what happens if someone gets their hands on you? Is the play just over? But he's slippery. The bend around the edge and the way he accelerates through it. That's not a lot of guys can do that. And yeah, we pump the brakes, and you understand that he's got to do it in a regular season, but it's there.
Yeah, it was a good rep for him, and he had a little stutter step in there. I thought it wasn't just coming free and going right to the quarterback. He did something in there. I never saw a replay, but it was. I thought it was a nice rep for him. And once he gets there, I mean, the guy's going down because he's coming at the quarterback with such speed and power. When he gets there, the guy's
and he does play with more violence than you'd expect from a guy his size.
Yeah, and he said he's put on. We talked to him the other day. He said he's up to 245. He put on 10 pounds of muscle. He does look stronger. I'm still not convinced, but I thought it was an encouraging night for him.
I agree with that. Ben Van Sumeren made some plays. I thought he looked okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see any major gaffes from anyone on defense.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Look, I know it's preseason game, and the Ravens obviously didn't play a bunch of their stars, but they had 55 yards in the second half. They had one point where they had 6 straight drives without a first down. I thought for a defense with a new coach and so many new players, so many young players, I thought and really the stats, what matters is I thought they played fast, they played confident, and they played physical. I thought the defense as a whole was really impressive. Now they did have, Jalen Carter started, Blankenship was out there, Jordan Davis was out there, and they were out there against backups.
Bryce Huff played.
Who's that?
Bryce Huff played as well.
Bryce Huff played. Jalen Carter had a nice, I guess technically it's a pass breakup, just got his hand up, tipped the ball.
Yeah, Marlon Tupelotu had one too.
Yes, he did.
I've noticed that. I wonder if that's an emphasis from Vic or from Clint Hurt. I've noticed more batted passes at the line this summer.
Interesting, something to ask him next time we talk to him.
Yeah,
but, yeah. Those are big plays. I thought for a second Marlon might have a chance to pick it off.
That would have been fun.
It would have been a very difficult play for him, but it was good to see. Yeah, I think everybody on I can't think of anybody who didn't who went out there and embarrassed themselves. Usually there's some guys that go out there and just look like they don't belong. It's just the nature of these preseason games. And then
I don't have a stock down on defense.
Right.
I don't have a stock down player on defense. It might have been Nolan, but then he made up for the holding call with a sack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought everyone played pretty well.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll talk offense on the other side.
Sure.
All right, let's do it.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. Okay, Rube, offense. We mentioned that most of the starters did not play. So no Jalen, no Saquon, no AJ, no Devontae, no Dallas Goedert. Most of the offensive line did not play. This was a Kenny Pickett game to start. He got a half and a series to start the second half, and then it was Tanner McKee the rest of the way. What were your impressions of the two quarterbacks?
I thought Pickett was okay. I thought considering who he was throwing to, how vanilla the offense was, I mean, there was nothing down the field. I thought he was okay.
I was underwhelmed by him.
I thought he kind of did what he was asked to do. He was dumping the ball off. I don't think he was. And it kind of went bad for him at his last couple of series when deeper and deeper subs started coming in. I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I mean, there were some plays where, we've seen him do it in camp. He'll try to extend a play, and he can do it in a training camp where you can't touch him, but he couldn't do it in this game. So I think that's almost a good thing. You got to get that out of the system because he's learned this new offense. I think he's processing a little slower. I think he's getting better with that. But there was I've seen that in practice, and now to see it in a game, it's you can't do that in a game. I thought there were some miscues. He overthrew Johnny Wilson. That's hard to do. There were a few that were just off passes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think you have to consider they're running plays that they're not going to run. I mean, they're running. I mean, there was just nothing down the field. Maybe he wouldn't have completed them or would have gotten picked off. I don't know, but I thought he was okay. I think I wrote, on the backup quarterback meter, he was above Marcus Mariota and below Jeff Garcia or something.
Yeah, I thought Tanner's stat line was it was kind of misleading. I thought he played better than what the numbers said. There were some plays where his receivers there was one Joseph Ngata route, he's got to know to go to the back shoulder and he just didn't do it. Yeah. I thought it was a great ball. So there were a few of those where I thought, okay, he's showing me something, but the guys that are out there with him aren't helping very much.
Yeah, a couple drops. Who else dropped one over in the left flat? It was a 15, 17-yarder. I don't remember who it was, but I think I wrote exactly that. He didn't play as bad as his numbers. But I'd like to see him a little more accurate. I thought he was struggling throwing out a little bit tonight. He was better in camp than he was in the game, but I don't think he was that bad.
Yeah, no, I thought he was actually okay. I wish we could have seen him with the twos. And I hope at some point he gets that opportunity. I don't know if he will.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be they brought in Kenny Pickett to be the two, but I think it's tougher. If he had the players that Kenny Pickett had, I think he would have been better.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have. And if Pickett had the players he had in the first quarter, I don't know, he might have been better. But I'm not really concerned about Pickett. I think you know what I learned tonight? He's the first quarterback in NFL history to win 14 games his first 2 years and then start his third season with a different team.
You know what, Rube? I thought the running backs all played pretty well in this game. Kenny Gainwell didn't play a ton. I thought Will Shipley looked fine. He looked good catching the football and even looked good in pass protection, which is something I've really talked about a ton with him. And I had a chance to chat with him after the game, and he admitted, he's probably read my stuff. He admitted that it's an area where he has to improve, but he's committed to it. And that showed tonight.
Yeah, he had one blitz pickup I was like, where's that been all summer? So that was good to see. I think he runs tough. I think he's going to have a role in the offense. I think it's going to be mainly as a receiver. I don't think he's going to get a ton of carries. But in the passing game, I mean, you just see he's got soft hands, and he's tough, and he's got a good feel for space. That was a nice play. I mean, he got open, and it was good to see. It was good to see him in action in the receiving game. I'm trying to think of a back that he reminds me of who, because I think he's an okay runner, but his strength is as a receiver. I don't know if Keith Byers is a fair comparison, but I couldn't really think of anyone like that. But he's going to have a role. We keep saying that about these young guys, and he made plays on special teams. He made at least one play on special teams. Mm-hmm. This is a deep running back room, and it was funny. I mean, you have our guy. I don't know if it's still just your guy. Lou Nichols did some good things, and then Davis Price, who has not had a good training camp. He's dropped some balls, but he looked really good running the ball.
He's a good runner. I think, like, when we talked about him struggling in camp, it was just receiving. I mean, he looks fine running the ball. Yeah,
and then Kellen goes with the Georgia rookie in crunch time to run out the clock or to run the clock. Kendall Milton, undrafted rookie from Georgia, another Georgia player, and he looked good. And he was running into a stacked box in the last few plays, but I thought he ran hard, and I thought all those guys look good. I think they have a good running back room, and there's going to be some. I don't know how it's going to sort out, but there's some good backs on this team.
Yeah, it was funny. Will Shipley, I asked him the first thought that went in his mind when he got into the end zone, and he said he didn't plan a celebration. He panicked. He did a little like wing flap, eagle wing flap.
That's right, he did.
He said he's got to work on that. He's got to be better prepared going into games.
Yeah, that's a concern. You don't want a guy to go into a game without a touchdown celebration.
You know what, though? You just mentioned it a little bit with Davis Price, Lou Nichols, and Kendall Milton. All three of those guys bring a different skill than the three guys we know are going to be on the team. So I don't know if the Eagles are going to keep 4 running backs, but I think that would be the best pitch to keep 4, is that you could get a different skill set. I mean, obviously Saquon has it, but in terms of the backup guys, Shipley and Gainwell just aren't downhill between the tackles runners, whereas those other 3 could be.
Yeah.
And if you want that in a backup on the roster, I still don't know if it's the best use of a roster spot, but you can convince me of it, I think.
Yeah, I think there's one of those guys has a chance. I think those guys all have a chance to be that 4th back. They're different, Nichols and Davis Price are older guys. They're veterans. Kendall Milton's a rookie. I don't know if that'll play into it, but it's an interesting group. And who would you keep if you were going to keep Saquon, Gainwell, Shipley? Who would your 4th back be?
If we're keeping 4 in this world, Lou Nichols.
You're a big Lou guy. I'm a big Lou guy too. I think I would as well.
I think he's been the best of those other 3.
He can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've been impressed by him. I think he has some burst, catches the ball well, looks better than the other guys in pass protection. All those things matter.
Yeah.
By the way, Johnny Wilson didn't have a great day catching the football. I know everyone was excited. He had a heck of a block on that Will Shipley touchdown.
Yes, he had a bunch of good blocks in there.
And if he's a third receiver, it's going to be a big part of his role.
I think the coaches are going to be thrilled with his blocking. And, I mean, he's going to catch the ball. I think he caught the first one. I think that was his only catch, like 1 for 7. I have a game book here somewhere. He was 1 for 7. Yeah, he's going to catch the ball. He's shown he can do that. I'm not sure. I wouldn't say he had any drops per se.
The one was really high.
Yeah,
but he is also 6'6".
Yeah, so. But he would have had to be 6'10" for that one.
I mean, it hit him in the hands, like fully stretched. Like it's a play you'd like to see him make, but I don't know if it's just you just call it a drop.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But it's rare to see a guy, a rookie, especially a late round rookie, block like that. I mean, that's eye opening. And yeah, he had a great block on the Shipley touchdown, and on the previous series, he had a really nice block on a, gosh, I believe it was a Nichols run up the middle. He's an interesting player. He's not what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
I expected you have a guy with that build, you think he's gonna be like a finesse guy. He's not. He's a tough physical dude.
Yeah. Tyler Steen came in the game after Mekhi Becton. It looks like he's still battling through that ankle injury.
Yeah, he didn't look right. A couple penalties.
Well, he got called for a hold.
It was a hold.
I thought it was a weak call.
Yeah, it was a hold. I thought it was a hold, but it was borderline. But I thought it was a hold. But
like Matt Hennessy, he made the most. Like that was a hold.
That was
egregious. The Tyler Steen one was a little ticky tacky.
Okay.
But in general, like it's not a good sign for him that he's, clearly behind Becton, playing pretty deep in this game.
Yeah.
He's the backup. And I wonder at a certain point if they'll start getting him some reps at tackle.
It's interesting.
Because if he's not the starter, then you need him to become Becton.
Yeah.
Or what we thought Becton was going to be. I mean, you always had the option to move Becton from guard to tackle, but then you're like, you got to get Becton some tackle reps too. Then you're moving multiple pieces, which we know Stout doesn't love to do.
I wonder if they had any idea when they signed Becton that he could be a guard, or if that was just something when he got here, Stout just said, "You won't play guard."
That's a good question.
I'm really curious about that. Something for Stout next time we talk to him. Who knows when that'll be? But
it's not like in free agency you don't have a ton of time to maybe there was a few conversations about role, but this was late in the process. They had an offer, he took it. I don't know if it was like that deep before then.
Yeah. Here's a name for you. We're talking about backup offensive lineman, Darian Kennard. He does some good things out there.
You know what? I'd have to rewatch. I didn't notice him good or bad in this game.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they like him.
I mean, they play him all over the line. He's got some versatility. I think he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. he's got more Super Bowl rings than career games played. Yeah, I thought he looked pretty good tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Matt Hennessy got that bad holding call in the fourth quarter of a preseason game. And it's funny, I watched Matt Hennessy in practice, and I think he looks fine, but it seems like they just hate Matt Hennessy for some reason.
He's at the
I might get a first team right guard rep before him this summer.
He's at the bottom of the totem pole. I
don't quite get it.
He's not even on the totem pole. Yeah. I guess he's just not what they thought he was.
Maybe. Maybe he was pretty athletic at one point. Maybe the injury kind of sapped him of some of his athletic. I don't know, but when I watch him in practice, I think he looks fine.
I mean, they've signed 7 offensive linemen since they signed him. Yeah, I think he's not long for this team.
You might be right. Anaya Smith eventually made a catch. It was a nice catch for a first down. I think it was a third down conversion.
It was a nice throw by McKee.
It was a nice catch, but and that had to feel good for him because before then, it's been a rough summer for him, and I was really excited when they drafted him. I thought there was a lot there to like.
Yeah,
just haven't seen it. He looks like he hasn't adjusted to the NFL yet. The speed is like he looks like he's just slower than everyone else, and I know he's not.
He looks really tentative.
Really tentative. I mean, he finally gets a chance on a punt return. He reverses field. You're like, oh, maybe he's going to have a big play, and then he fumbles the football out of bounds. Luckily, out of bounds. It was just a shame. Like I was hoping that he would get to a game and be able to. Maybe he's a gamer. Maybe he'll show up, and it just didn't really happen.
Yeah, he looks uncomfortable. He looks. It looks like the speed of the game is. He's just not ready for it, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was good to see him do something positive on that. I mean, that was a big 3rd and 5 conversion there.
It was. And maybe that's all it'll take.
Could be.
I don't know. And maybe at least like start him in the right direction a little bit.
There's something there. I mean, there's something there. It might just take a while.
Yeah. Anyone else on offense we want to highlight?
How about leading receiver Britton Covey?
Yeah, the Britton Covey show, huh?
Yeah, I think
they're all for like, minimal gains. But then he breaks off that punt return, which, like, we've talked so much about him recently being like, can he be the third receiver? Can he play on offense? Look, what he's still really good at is as a punt returner. And they brought in all these other guys this offseason who had that ability. And you started to wonder, well, maybe he's expendable now. No,
I didn't wonder that.
No, well, it was a talking point, though. It was like they brought in
you're right.
Anaya Smith and Isaiah Rodgers and all these guys who have that in their toolbox, but like
routine,
but they're not as good as him. He's really good. That 26-yard return was like, it was flashy. I thought he was going to break it.
Yeah, and that was such a typical Britton Covey return because like he got hit like 3 times. He almost went down like 4 times. He's got great balance, and he's got that quick change of direction. I think he's got really good vision. He really sees the field well, sees defenders. He's fun to watch on punt returns. And I don't think that play was sometimes there's a punt return like, wow, he's got this lane here. There was no lane there. He just did it all himself. I mean, you don't average 14. What did he average last year? 14.8. You don't do that by accident. He's really good at it.
Yeah.
And he can play in the slot. He catches everything.
He does.
He might never have a 10-yard catch in his career. He might catch like 800 balls in his career for a long gain of 8 yards, but he catches everything.
He does. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else on offense I wanted to highlight. I don't think so. Albert Okwuegbunam, I've been kind of waiting to see him show a lot as a pass catcher, and I still haven't seen it.
He caught a ball late, short catch late from McKee. But boy, when camp started, I remember we went through all the competitions on a podcast, and I had him earmarked for tight end 2.
Yeah, that's not happening.
He might not be tight end 9.
Yeah.
Although your boy Ken Forsch was a pitcher for the Astros. Folsch. The new tight end. He caught a couple balls.
It was very funny. Before the game, he walked by me, and I pride myself on knowing all 90 guys on all 91 on the roster. I feel like I can point them out. He walked by me, and I went, "Who the heck is that?" I've never seen it because I haven't seen him yet. I've seen him on the field, but I haven't seen him. He walked by, and I'm just like staring at him, like.
Who are you?
Who is that guy? And by process of elimination, I was like, it has to be the new tight end.
Well, if you ever covered any Ramsey high school football games, you would have known who it was.
I did not. I know you love John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
What a dork.
I don't know what he was thinking.
Justin Tucker kicked a 21-yard field goal in this game.
I don't get it.
Like, what in the world are you doing?
I don't get it.
It kind of gives me joy that he lost this game.
I can't disagree with you. And, I mean, I've been friends with Harbs for a quarter of a century.
It was just like the dorkiest head coaching thing.
No sense. I know.
What was he doing? He was like punting on 4th and 3. He didn't go for the 2-point conversion to take a lead. He deserved to lose that game. And he cares about it, which is funnier.
Yeah, as soon as he sent Tucker out there to kick the field goal. I was thinking, oh man, what's Dave going to say about this?
I was losing it in the press box. I wasn't losing it. I was making jokes. I was like, Justin Tucker needs the work.
Yeah,
Get him out there. Get him the reps.
I don't get it. I can't.
Very strange.
I love Harbs, great guy, but I can't defend that.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I was wondering how you'd react to that.
Yeah.
That's all I have, really. Anything else that's on your mind from this game?
Well, let's mention Patrick Johnson.
Oh, yeah, sure. It was a heck of a play by him.
It really was. I actually thought when I first saw it, I thought Van Sumer had stripped him because he came in right after. But it was a great rush. He went right for the ball and he recovered it. 3-1. He's a guy who we don't really talk about. He's been around 4 years now, and he's a good guy to have around. He's probably going to make the team, maybe.
He might. And you're right. People don't talk about it enough. I feel like I'm trying to. He plays a lot.
Dave just goes up to strangers like on Market Street.
Let me spread the word of Patrick Johnson.
He's got a little booth set up.
Look, I think realistically, is he going to be an impact player on defense in year 4 all of a sudden? Probably not, but he flashes a little bit here and there in training camps, and he did it again tonight in this game. But he's a really good special teams player.
Yeah, that's why I think he'll be on the team.
And if he's not, I think he's the 54th guy.
Yeah, I could see him.
It'll be a tough cut.
It would be a tough cut, and he might be one of those rare guys that gets claimed.
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see him getting claimed.
Yeah, I think he's been a really good special teamer.
Yeah.
What'd you make of the kickoffs? This was our first chance to see them. It was very funny. Really, everyone's excited, and the first kickoff is a touchback.
Yeah. It was funny because the Ravens thought they were receiving the first one. Nobody knew what was going on. They were going to the wrong place and everything. I didn't see enough to really have a sense. I'm still kind of it's a work in progress. I'm not sure what I think of it.
I think it's the strategy I think is to be a low angle kick to the returner. You'd rather have the ball.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think you'll be consistently they might spring one here or there, but I think consistently you'll have worse field position than the touchback at the 30, and I think it's worth attempting that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Nick was asked about it, and the first thing he said was there was a lot of big hits on those plays, and that's one of the things it was supposed to prevent. So
it's not full speed because you don't have enough.
Yeah.
It looks weird though, just
really
because
weird.
It almost looks like the players are forgetting to go because they have to wait for the ball to be touched.
You train players and tell them to as soon as the ball snapped, you're an animal, go crazy, and they just stand there. It's weird.
It is weird. It's gonna be also very weird at the link, starting games when we hear the Rocky music, and then it's just Jake by himself.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I'll have to see. Well, there
was also the miscommunication with the Eagles. Who was it? It was Shipley and Rogers or Shipley and Smith back there, and they both tried to catch the ball, and then they didn't end up one of them caught it, but then you didn't have a lead blocker. That can't happen. There has to be better communication.
Yeah.
It's good to get that one out of the way in the preseason.
Yeah, and they never practice because they don't want us to see what they're doing.
They do enough with just the returners.
Yeah, no, they do. I'm curious to see how it evolves.
You wonder a loud stadium is probably harder to communicate. You really have to maybe and then it's a little tricky. Do you look over? Do you glance and your eyes off the ball?
Yeah, it's a weird deal. Yeah. We'll see. I'm not sold on it.
I made it. It took me 3 hours to drive here today.
Really? What happened? Rain,
and there were a bunch of traffic. There must have been accidents from the rain. It's still not the worst drive I've had to a preseason game, but it's
at least your car didn't get zapped by light.
Yeah, I made it. I like the stadium and the new press box here. I it's not as good as the old one, but still really good view. We were preparing for the worst. No, it looks good.
I like Baltimore. It's good town.
Mm-hmm. That's all we have, I think. We're not going to read questions today. We'll get to that on the next regular pod. Sounds like practice on Sunday. So heading into the next week, it'll be a practice on Sunday, walkthrough and travel day on Monday. Then the joint practice against the Patriots will both be up there for that in Foxborough. That should be a lot of fun. And then another preseason game on Thursday. So we're like, it's going to go quick here.
Yeah, it will. And it's funny because I was going through some preseason stuff and back in the old days, they played like 7 preseason games. And then they would play like 14 regular season games, which is it's like a third of their games were preseason games. It wasn't that long ago they were playing 4, and it's not too long in the future they're going to be playing 2.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to Tuesday, joint practice up in Foxborough, and have a safe drive back.
Thank you. This is where I tell everyone, if you like the podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. Any final words, Rube?
No, just have a safe trip back, and we'll see everybody Sunday.
Sounds good. Take care. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.